Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Early Years, the podcast. In studio with me today, oh my, amazing guests. You're gonna love this episode. Siog, which means fairy.
Nobody knew that before.
Now they know. And Seetha, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited to share the Montessori approach with the rest of our early years community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell our listeners, who is Seetha and who is Siog?
So I'm a passionate educator and I've had 25 years experience, I'd say 28 now as a teacher. And in this journey of mine, I could identify the importance of us as educators to not only have the theory knowledge, but practically how we will be in the classroom as educators is how we will nurture the children. So keeping that in mind, we have a new mission now that we are looking at training early years educators.
Oh.
And that's who I am.
That's
how
not
I
all.
identify myself
That's
as.
not all. There's so much more. I'm glad you're here, though.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Seetha.
So I'm Siog Moore. I'm from Ireland. Came to Dubai 36 years ago.
Wow.
I think that's the first time I've got it right.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
So I came as a young neonatal nurse. And after a few years, I started my family. I had 4 children in 5.5 years. And through having those, I came to Montessori. When I had my first 2, I then needed nursery education. So that's all part of the story. I ended up setting up my own Montessori nursery and was introduced by a fantastic lady who is still my mentor 30 years later. This was 30 years ago.
So you're one of the pioneers of early years in Dubai, am I correct?
Well, I'm one of the early starters.
Yes,
yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What a privilege for us to meet you.
Thank you. Well, what a privilege for me to be here.
Thank you.
To share. I'm surprised every day about how much I still love my work. I change my work.
Yes.
I wouldn't say I have the same job every year.
Yes.
So I was a neonatal nurse. I became qualified in early years teaching, but I actually didn't spend much time in teaching in the classroom. I did leadership courses. I became a coach, a transformational emotional coach, a parent coach. I am now just starting to teach a program to parents how to talk so kids will listen and listen so kids will talk.
That's another episode then.
It's maybe another episode.
We're going to need you back here.
We can do a demo of how it works.
Absolutely.
Things you can say.
Yes, we're going to table that. Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
I love that. So how did the two of you find one another?
Okay, that's an interesting one. So I'd say that this goes back 20 years ago. 20 years back, I entered a red door. And that red door had a sign that was Little Land Montessori.
Yeah.
And so I was with Siog and the amazing leader that she is, the nurturer that she is. So she had that faith in me and she nurtured me to be where I am today. And of course, she's truly an inspiration. So I'd say something that started on a very professional level is now taken another, I'd say, dimension where we are really close friends. We share a common love and passion for early years. And I'd say she's my mentor.
I love that. So you joined Little Land Nursery as a teacher, is that correct?
Yes. Wow. She joined as a teacher. And then there was an opportunity. At that time, there was Montessori teacher training in Dubai. So I went to London, I did the trainer course, and I came back and I was training Montessori teachers in Dubai. It's been 7 years. I moved back to Mumbai. That's where I'm from. And I've got my new baby there that's called Montessori R Nursery. And I'd say I'm the first in India to be accredited by MCI London as a standalone Montessori in India.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a wonderful feat. That's really awesome. So why Montessori, ladies?
Right. So
Bernadette, the lady I mentioned, my mentor, she was our first recruit in Little Land. We actually recruited her before we even knew who she was because of her recommendations. And it was a world of who knows somebody who does something really well.
Right.
And Bernadette came in as a Montessorian, as a scientist, and we were doing regular early years at the time. And she was like, Siog, really, the Montessori approach allows the children to develop the independence and autonomy that I see you really want for your children. It has this structure. Wherever you go in the world, you will find every Montessori class is pretty much the same in principle. They will all have 6 areas of learning. The Montessori teachers will have a consistent level of education. It was a problem in Dubai then because we didn't have a lot of 3rd level education. So finding consistency amongst teachers was a challenge. But I knew that if I found Montessori teachers, they would be well trained, and I had Bernadette to mentor them, and I could learn myself, and we could have continuity. I think children develop best with continuity. If you're working in principle towards their self-esteem and their independence, thinking, what's the message I'm giving? You can use many systems, but the Montessori system is so consistent and it's so well established. I think Marie Montessori set up her first Montessori school in 1907.
Yes, 1907.
1907. And it is a complete 360 holistic method of education, a complete philosophy that you can bring from your home from the day your baby's born. So it just felt sure. And I needed something sure, especially in those days. People came and left Dubai every 2, 3, 4 years. I came for 3 years.
And here you are.
But so that's a bit long-winded, but that's really
I appreciate that.
the importance.
And so you joined as a regular early years trained educator.
Yes.
Montessori trained.
Montessori.
You were Montessori
Montessori
trained
trained,
initially when you joined the
Yes, and
nursery
I had
school?
experience in another nursery, and of course, I was looking for growth, and it's always lovely to just, be in different settings and get the best out of each setting.
Of course, absolutely.
And that's where we met, and that's us together.
So let's talk about the key features of the Montessori approach. You're speaking about this continuity. I know about 2 key features, and one of them being the prepared environment. And I think when us as the outsiders looking in envision Montessori, we're envisioning this beautiful, calm, crisp, clean, structured environment. Share with us.
So when we talk about the prepared environment, first we need to understand that Mario Montessori emphasizes on something which is called an absorbent mind, where she says that a child's mind is like a sponge. So the child absorbs from his or her environment not only the good, but various other experiences which are going to impact the child, not today, but the child's going to carry all that, whether it's positive or negative, carry the influence, the impact of these experiences throughout their life. So that's where the emphasis comes into a prepared environment. Because also there is an emphasis that it's, apart from the absorbent mind, a child has an innate need to be independent and to be free. That's a natural tendency for us as humans. So when children are left in an environment and they're offered the freedom to interact, if everything fits in, which is going to benefit the child will take those decisions and plan their, plan their growth or plan their education by themselves, because they'd be able to map and they'd know best what is best for them. So hence what we do as educators, our focus is only on the prepared environment. So we prepare an environment, as you said, which is orderly, because that's also a natural tendency. We ensure that the environment offers freedom, because that's a natural tendency. And we prepare an environment so we do not have to stop the child that, you can't do this.
Oh.
So just to give you an example, if as an educator, I'm going to walk into the classroom, I'm going to first glance and see is everything safe? Is the environment safe?
Yes.
Because if the environment is safe, I will not have to say, you can't do this or you have to be careful
Right.
or, I'm not there to teach the child. And so when the child walks into the Montessori prepared environment, your activities are prepared not only, I won't say they prepared age appropriate, because, you'd see that children universally will follow a pattern. However, each child will have their own rhythm of the pace that they follow.
Right.
So as a Montessori educator in the classroom, we're going to make sure that we have materials, we have activities which are appropriate for a varied range of children based on their ability.
This is very profound, what you're saying. In our traditional practice of early years education, we would normally group children according to their ages and then grade their learning according to developmental milestones. And so we would prepare the environment based on those milestones, which we as the adults hope for them to accomplish. Yes, and so Montessori thinking is different. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You are.
All right. That's really, really interesting. So the focus here is on the child's ability as opposed to my intention as an educator. Is that correct?
Yes, and apart from the abilities, also their interests. What are they interested in? So if we have a child who's got back from Europe and has had a family holiday and comes in, is only talking about the holiday and where he traveled, we'd request the parents to send us pictures. We'll talk about it, and then we'll probably link that with our culture, or you may say knowledge and understanding of the world curriculum.
Right.
So the curriculum is fluid, and what we plan is based on the child's interests and needs.
Okay. You spoke about 6 learning areas in the classroom. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes. So you mentioned a clean, crisp, beautiful environment.
Yes.
Every day it starts off as a clean, crisp, beautiful environment. By the end of the day, it's tidied, but it is very well used. And it doesn't have to stay crisp and clean. You can see that the equipment's been used.
Okay.
So the areas of our activities of everyday living is one area, practical, otherwise known as practical life.
What would that entail? What would that look like?
That looks like trays, everything going from simple to complex. At the beginning of the year, for example, they'll have pouring, spooning, beading, threading activities. That pouring at the beginning will maybe be with large solids, beads, that they pour from one container to another.
Okay.
With children, we know it's about process, not about result.
Yes.
Later, that pouring becomes maybe with liquid, right? Which is more difficult for them to manage.
It's scaffolding.
And it's scaffolding, exactly. So then they'll transfer with a big tongs, a small tongs, a tiny tweezers. And then when you see them taking peas and putting them on a little soap pad with their tweezers and making patterns with them, you're developing all sorts of skills. Concentration, fine motor control, sorting, mathematical skills.
Yes.
They also have the decision-making capabilities. So I like to say everything in the Montessori classroom is at child level. They don't have to ask a teacher, can I do that up there, please? Or remember that something is there that they won't ever remember. They don't have to interrupt anybody. They have the freedom to go anywhere in the class to these 6 areas and choose what they're going to do. So they're actually learning to be choosers. The trays.
It's self-directed.
It's self-directed.
Yes.
The how to carry a tray, how to clean up a mess, that's all taught. It really is taught in presentations during the first month while they're in the class. So that they have the competence to actually manage themselves in the class pretty much for the rest of the year. So if I lift a chair, it's an activity. It's a great heavy activity for children. But if I don't know how to lift it, I'm at risk of hurting my friend. So if I'm taught how to carry that chair, so there's certain things we teach or we present, and then the children have the freedom within the class. So they go from practical life, then there is language, mathematics, sensorial, cultural, and what have I forgotten?
Creativity.
Creativity.
What does cultural look like in the
Cultural.
classroom?
Cultural looks like everything from history, geography, science. So we'll have dinosaurs. We'll learn about dinosaurs. We'll do activities with dinosaurs. So from history, we'll have the planets. And we'll know the solar system. And we'll sing songs about the solar system. And we'll do activities related to the solar system. And we'll describe the balloons. There's so many beautiful resources that we can make ourselves, and then the children can help make them, and then they describe them, and they know the order of the planets, they know the temperature of the planets, they know it's very cold there, and that this is a gas planet, and this is a red planet, more than I ever know. And then in the cultural, they have this magic ceremony called the birthday ceremony.
Tell me about it.
So it's, the children remember it forever. We had our 30th birthday party this year.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
Thank you.
What a wonderful feat. Wow. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. And we had people come back. We had quite a few hundred people were there to celebrate.
Yeah.
And we had children come back who are now adults, who even have their own children.
Yes.
And we asked them, what did they remember? They remembered the sandpit. They remembered Play-Doh. And they remembered the birthday ceremony. They didn't remember their birthday parties outside their home, but they remembered the birthday ceremony. So what happens is the parent sends in 4 pictures, say of a 3-year-old child or 5 of a 4-year-old child, when they were born, when they were 1, when they were 2, when they were 3. And then we mount these on a little card, and it's like an accordion. So the child tells us what they were doing in the first picture, in the second picture. Then that's prepared, and then the child, we put a sun on the floor, a symbol of the sun with a little candle. And the child walks around the sun, carrying the globe, singing, "It takes 12 months to go around the sun." And then they sing, "January, February, March and April." I know, it's magic. And then they say, when they go around once, they say, "When I was 1, I could do this. When I was 2, I could ride my tricycle. When I was 3, I could ride my bicycle."
Oh, I'm just thinking of the many areas of learning that the child is accessing in this magical moment.
Exactly.
Yeah?
The solar system, the timeline.
Oh, language, the vocabulary. Oh,
vocabulary.
Yes.
Leadership, telling their friends about their lives. What is history? I have history in my life.
Yes. I belong.
3 years ago, I could do this, and now I do this.
I love this.
Yeah, it's magic.
Everybody needs to have a Montessori birthday celebration.
I believe so.
Yes,
I believe
everybody
so.
needs to have that.
Yeah, I believe so. So and they learn about, like, the earth goes around the sun.
Yes.
I often still have to think, oh yeah, the earth goes around the sun.
Yes. Yes.
So they learn, it's amazing. Yeah. So that's the cultural area. And in language and communication, everything is about communication, every area. So in language, they have sandpaper letters that are there. They're marked so that they're consonants and vowels, and they're on different coloured boards, and the children get a muscular impression of the letter shape from their finger by running their finger along the sandpaper shape. They have metal insets that are 10 different shapes, but these shapes incorporate all the shapes of the English alphabet. So when a child actually comes to write, they are prepared, their little muscles are prepared to hold a pencil correctly. We never force writing early in the activities of everyday living where they're pouring and spooning and developing that balance, and they're getting ready to write. If we believe that if you force a child to write, they learn that writing is difficult and ugly. It's really sad.
Yeah.
They learn, I find writing hard.
Yeah.
When they're ready to learn how to write, on the other hand, they start writing words at 4, and you can make out what they are, and my
There's a
writing
freedom,
is legible.
there's an excitement.
I love it.
Yes.
I'm creative. I'm a writer. Mom, I wrote a book. They'll make passports. When they come back from that trip from Europe, they'll make little passports with their picture and their name and their age, and then the country where they went. It's magic.
I love it.
pure math. And that's culture, it's language. In mathematics, they hold spindles, little wooden spindles, and they're lovely feel. And they'll hold 2 in one hand and 6 in the other. We don't have to say to them 6 is bigger than 2. Because their little hand can't hold 6.
Yes.
My 3rd and 4th children had more Montessori than my first 2. And both of them are mathematicians and engineers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you a Montessori parent as well?
I started to be.
Yes.
I would do things a lot differently in my home now than I did then.
I think all of us.
I think, yeah, all of us. Yeah, we learned our way.
Yes.
I set up my nursery because I had this passion for children's self-esteem. But it was based on a love and a passion and not the best of knowledge. Good knowledge.
Yeah.
But not the best of knowledge. I feel now that we have so much knowledge available to us.
I love your self-reflection.
Thank you.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So many years, that is so beautiful. We can all learn from that.
Well, I'm still learning.
Absolutely.
I'm never not learning.
Absolutely. And I love that too. Yeah, as educators, as a directress, as a manager, as a leader, we have to be always learning.
And CPDs, like everybody has something else to offer.
Yeah.
Even if it's a CPD I've done 10 times, I'm going to learn something new from it every time.
Absolutely.
And it's never presented the same way.
Yeah.
And you can hear how Seetha and I talk so differently about our feel of the classroom. And Seetha is very, very conversant with the deep philosophy of Montessori and the deep and innate progress of a child and process for the child and how they will learn.
So Seetha, the resources. Again, in my mind's eye, as an outsider, I picture these beautiful wooden, natural resources in the Montessori. So there are specific resources that are used, as you mentioned, only in a Montessori classroom.
Yes.
So do you have toys?
Yes.
Are they toys?
So we would say we do have activities. And when we talk about toys, again, we are going to choose those toys very carefully.
Okay.
So we will... I'll be honest, if you say that, okay, we are not going to have anything plastic in the class.
Right.
It's not going to work when we talk about toys.
Right.
Because there is so much now in the market. So, you've got these fixing, these are those fixing keys.
Yes.
Or fixing locks.
Yes.
So they all come together. Again, that is plastic. But however, when you talk about the Montessori tools, the equipment, so they are, of course, all nature, wooden. There is a sequence in which they are presented. Each material will have a control of error. They will be autodidactic, so the child can work with them and teach themselves.
Right.
But we also now, over time, are emphasizing on extensions and variations. So coming to extensions and variations, so for example, if the child has used the sandpaper letters, as Siog mentioned, they are mounted on paper and or now they've mounted on these wooden bases, and you can just trace around them and get a hands-on feel of the letter. They will use the Montessori material. They will learn a new concept, but it's equally important for them to link the concept that they have learned to various aspects within their environment.
Yes.
That's going to, as you say, consolidate their concept in various ways. And that's where we look at, you'd have puzzles. We will have we'll have toys which would be related to literacy. We will have toys that will be related to mathematics. We may have toys which will be related to culture.
Okay.
But yes, the emphasis would be how we can link it to nature. Now, these are some, I'd say, principles that we will look into. However, there are some amazing materials and toys which would be of plastic, but they will tick the other principles beautifully.
Right.
So
Okay.
you have to make a choice a mindful choice or
About what you're
decision of
presenting.
what you bring in. Because most of the time when if I'm consulting a nursery or if I'm in a classroom and, teachers will be, but, this is plastic, or we don't use plastic, or, we don't use. So to that, I say that initial concept that is introduced to a child will be used through natural materials within their environment. And then you can use these as extensions and variations.
Fantastic. So the resources, what about the layout? Is there a specific layout? Again, you spoke about continuity. So what I would find in Egypt, I would find in North America, I would find in Central Africa. Is it the same, the layout of the classroom?
Yes, so the layout of the classroom, so when we talk about Montessori pedagogy, you're talking about the Montessori philosophy. That's one pillar. And the other pillar is your Montessori method.
Right.
So when you talk about the Montessori philosophy, as Siog mentioned, child-sized table, child-sized shelves, independence, spacious classroom, well-lit classroom is a part of the prepared environment. Now, when we talk about the Montessori method, is where you'll look at the tools or the equipment created by Maria Montessori years back. So that would be universal in all the Montessori classrooms. Because we're looking at order in the classroom, every area will have their own shelf. So if a child would like to work with math-related activities, the child would know, okay, this is where, this shelf is going to only have math. Now, when we extend, the equipment or the Montessori material to extensions and variations, that's where universally there will be similarities, or the objectives would stay constant or the same. However, the materials will change because these are extensions and variations.
Yes.
But the Montessori materials are universal.
Okay.
Still, again, I've felt over the years the manufacturers are changing, so there will be some tweaks in some material, but the look and the feel or the first glance of all the Montessori classrooms will stay the same. Very distinct.
Yes. So I want to ask you, are we then limited to a small amount of resources if it's child directed, or is you're saying everything is left out on display? Is there a limit to what's on display to avoid chaos?
No.
How do you inhibit?
No.
How is this happening in a classroom of 15 toddlers? Everything's accessible to them.
Could be 25 toddlers.
Okay.
25, so 2.5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Seetha will talk about intrinsic motivation, I think, here. But I will say everything in the class, so the material changes a little bit through the year with the extensions and variations.
Yes.
But everything on the shelves goes from simple to complex. So every child will be able to do something that's on the shelves. Having 6 areas of activities and different types of activities in a class allows dispersion of the natural population, or natural dispersion of the population.
So you're not directing them to these activities?
No, somebody will go to the practical life area and maybe their buddy will follow them. And they'll both take out 2 trays. They'll start their activity, they'll complete it, they'll put it back on the shelf ready for the next person. This is what I talked about in the first month. We give them the rules of the classroom so that they can manage themselves.
Sure.
Somebody else will go to mathematics. Somebody else will join them.
Yes.
The other day I went into a class and the children had been in the sensorial area and they had taken out the pink tower, the broad stairs and the long rods. And previously they had been building them all separately and working with them as presented. But now they have mastery. So they decided that they would build a slide which actually crossed most of the classroom, and that they would roll the knobless cylinders down different gradients of the long rods which they'd built up on the brown stair and the pink tower.
Wow.
Blocks. It was just magic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the absence of a predetermined schedule or roster, there is calm?
There is busyness.
Yes.
Not chaos.
Not chaos. And this is all dependent on how successful this first month of integration occurs? Yes?
So I'd like to put it that the first month
Uh-huh.
is where, as Siog mentioned, we're introducing the ground rules.
Yes.
We're introducing basic skills that they would require to be independent in the classroom. So the first few months, still I would not say there is chaos, because each child, when is there chaos? There is chaos when they have to follow a teacher's instruction. They still have not built that trust with the teacher. So they walk into a classroom and they see this lady and she's going to tell them now what to do, what not to do. There's a friction. But when they come into a classroom and the teacher says, you can go and do whatever you'd like to do, find whatever you'd like to work with, is where the child feels confident, child starts to build that initial trust. So that's the first step, the independence in the classroom. Now, when we say independence, the first 1 month, maybe the child may not tidy up or may just leave the material, or is still learning that I have to use my gentle hands with this material. So that's where the first 2 months, the teacher will be actively involved in reinforcing positively the ground rules.
Right.
So at times there is a misconception that in a Montessori classroom, children are allowed to do whatever they'd like to do.
Right. This is really what I was coming to. It's self-directed. They are self-correcting. Is it not chaos? Is it not just children running amok in a classroom?
However,
or how is it not? Let me say, how is it not?
Yeah.
Because again, my image is these lovely children getting along, just connecting really well with one another. So how is it possible in the Montessori class, in the absence of the schedule, self-directed play, self-correcting play? How is it possible?
Because this is Montessori is aligned with the natural path of development.
Right.
And this is how children are built, and that's how they are. This is innate, that they need freedom. Right. So if there's freedom, there are no deviations. If they have the freedom to choose, again, you're looking at constructive, because they'll find what interests them and they'll start working with that. And here they have freedom of repetition. So if they like something, they can repeat and work with this the whole day.
So you're saying the magic lies in the fact that I am not, as the educator, as the directress, as the teacher, I am not imposing my desire onto them, my idea of what they should be accomplishing, my idea of it's 9 o'clock, it's creative play, it's 10 o'clock, it is Teetha. Because I'm not imposing my ideas onto them, therein lies the magic.
Magic, yes.
Wow.
So we had this one child who would come to school, and the moment he'd come in, he'd get his box on, lay his table and eat. And he followed this routine for 2 months.
Yes.
And he was encouraged to follow his routine. And when children were getting ready for community snack time, is the time he wanted to work.
Okay.
Now, that was his natural path, I'd say, or that's how he would like to structure his day.
Yes.
And after a couple of months, then when he'd come in, he'd work with the children, and then he was ready for community time.
Okay.
So he decided for himself that I'm ready, and okay, now I'd like to be a part and sit with everyone and eat my snack.
I'm hearing respect for the child.
Yes.
I'm hearing respect for their needs, respect for them knowing themselves, for their personal development. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing is the magic of Montessori. Yeah? So the prepared environment and the prepared teacher, the prepared educator. Tell me about that.
Ooh, the spotlight's
The
on
teacher.
me.
I think the teacher having good Montessori education.
She's specifically trained for Montessori, right?
Specifically trained for Montessori.
Yeah.
She knows, she organizes her class according to the basic Montessori principles.
Yes.
Then she looks at, before her children ever come, then she looks at her children and she sees their interests. And mostly she won't have to change too much, but she might adapt some things because a particular child is very, very maybe anxious coming into the class, and maybe he only loves cars, and maybe she didn't have the cars out, but his mom tells her he really loves cars. She'll have cars there for him, so that will help him settle. She will also make a note, because we do observations all the time.
Okay.
She'll make a note, and she'll pass this note on to her team when they have team meetings. And they will look at, what is the child achieving? Where is he interested? What can we do to add to his interest to improve his development without his feeling that he's being taught, so that he ends up teaching himself? But Seetha, I think you can talk about your teacher training.
Thank you. So for a Montessori directress, or for a teacher to walk into a Montessori classroom and she has no knowledge of the Montessori philosophy or how we will offer freedom within a prepared environment, is where there could be a clash of...
I agree.
Yeah, there could be a clash of what a Montessori institute, or as a philosophy, what we would like to offer to the children.
Yes.
So it's very important for an educator who would like to work into a Montessori classroom to know not only about the materials and how they are presented, but also what the philosophy, what is the objective, or what's the aim, and how is this going to benefit the child.
Yes.
So we've had schools that are Montessori but do not have the right trained teachers. There is a gap there.
Yes.
So we feel that an EYFS teacher who comes into a Montessori setting may not know how she's going to conduct or how she's going to prepare the setting, whereas a Montessori teacher can adapt in any settings. And we've also seen a blend of Montessori and EYFS, or a lot of pedagogies.
More and more. Yes.
When you put them together, they get the best of each pedagogy and each framework and put them together, because end of the day, for us as educators, there's only one goal, that it's the child.
Absolutely.
We want to do whatever is best for the child.
So can we apply the Montessori approach to learners with special educational needs?
So when this philosophy was, when Maria Montessori shared this philosophy with us, and was actually, she had children with special needs. So this works very well with special needs.
And I believe we can use that in sports as well. Montessori for sports.
Yes.
Montessori for the aged.
Yes. This is fascinating.
This is a life philosophy. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Montessori parenting, as we touched on earlier.
Yes.
I love that.
And even with teenage children, I'd say that I couldn't use Montessori when my boys were little, because I didn't know. I mean, they were 3 and 6 when I got to learn the philosophy.
Yes.
But when they were teenagers, it worked so well. The freedom within a controlled environment, the choices, what would you like to do?
My daughter messaged me, or spoke to me a few months ago, my second child, and she said, "Mom, thank you so much." And I'm like, "For what?" And she said, you taught all of us that we could learn anything we wanted.
What a blessing.
I was like, wow, thank you.
What a
And
blessing.
she's 31.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well done, Mom.
Oh, thank you. But it was coming, it's when I see her, she's a constant student of life, and she studies everything from psychology to astrophysics and business and strategy in between, and she creates all the time. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Mashallah, I shouldn't probably say. And I just admire her way of embracing life and approaching life.
Do you attribute some of that to having had a
Montessori.
foundation in Montessori?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
I was
really
never
encouraging.
interested in passing or failing exams. There is, in my mind, there is no failure, only feedback. And whatever I've struggled with, I've actually learned more because I didn't do well with it in the beginning, maybe. And I never felt a strong urge to force my children to pass. Maybe I was blessed I didn't have to.
Yeah.
They passed everything very well.
Yes.
But my then 11-year-old boy said to me, Mom, I don't feel comfortable if you're telling me to do my homework. Do you mind? Like, we have parent-teacher meetings in 6 weeks. If they're not okay, then maybe. And I said, okay, you're sure? Like, absolutely.
I love that confidence and independence.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily confident. He knew he had to work hard.
Yeah.
But he like knew what worked for him.
Yes.
And I went to the parent-teacher meeting 6 weeks later.
And?
Amazing. I never told that child, who is now a young man,
Yeah.
to do any homework.
Yeah. It's a self-directed learner.
Self-directed learner.
Yes.
All I did was support him with whatever he needed in terms of company,
Yes.
in knowing that he was valued, in knowing that his needs were important.
Yeah.
And I gave him that support.
I think this is a wonderful foundation to humanity, to being, that we have a respect for one another and a respect for the children in our care and the desire to see that what's inside them blooms, like you said earlier, but with that respect. You know, this is really resonating with me, that we respect these children and teach them with dignity, not having imposed our desires and our need for fulfillment and our egos as educators, that we've accomplished this. I've observed them, I've assessed them, and they've passed, you know, they've done well, they've reached these milestones. I think the other perspective, the Montessori perspective, needs a little bit more. But ladies, we've run out of time and there's still so much we need to talk about. So last words. Last words.
Last words. Think, when you look at your child, what is he going to learn from my next action? Is he going to learn that I'll help him, so he's not good enough? Or is he going to learn, I can do anything, I'll try this and see how it works? Which makes him a curious explorer and decision maker.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Seetha, I will ask you to close and tell our listeners where to find this amazing Montessori training, if you don't mind. I know you've got a wealth to share, but I would prefer them to come and sit under your tutelage, under your training, and get the full spectrum and the qualification related to Montessori. So please share with our listeners.
Thank you, Melanie. So we've Teachwise Vocational Institute in Dubai. It's a KHDA approved vocational training institute. We are also an approved center for TQ UK. And we offer, of course, level 3 diplomas, which are off-qual regulatory courses. And what we've done is that we've got a blend of Montessori in there. So we have a TQ UK endorsed Montessori program for existing teachers who would like to upgrade their qualifications, and also for someone new who's looking out to, who would like to start their career as an early years educator, can do the level 3 with the Montessori program that we offer.
And where are we going to find you? Where's all this information?
So you will find us on our website is www.teachwisevocational.com, and we have our Instagram page. You can look out for Teachwise Vocational Institute Dubai. And of course, if you still can't find us, you'll find the red door, that's Little Land Montessori.
Yay! Ladies, it has been my absolute pleasure to be with you, to learn from you, to be inspired by you. I wish that the listeners could feel your beautiful presence here. You feel the magic of Montessori. I feel that. I feel inspired by you. I feel that you're living the culture of Montessori. I can feel that. I can sense that about you. I'm really grateful. I feel so privileged to have met you and learned a little from you today. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's been
I'm
an
looking
absolute
forward
pleasure.
to the next one, yeah?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you down in Little Land, maybe.
Can I?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Please, and bring a
Thank
friend.
you. Absolutely.
And especially when you walk in and you see that how busy the classroom is and there's no chaos, that's going to be
Yes.
something that's going to be worth your while.
I want to experience this.
Yes, please do.
And maybe then
you.
come to Mumbai. Why only Dubai?
Yeah.
Let's
Maybe
do
the
this.
two of you need to come to Mumbai.
Let's do our podcast, our next episode
Absolutely.
in Mumbai. Listeners, you need to tune in. Let's Talk Early Years is going to Mumbai with the ladies from Teachwise Vocational. These magical ladies can be found on Teachwise Vocational. Go and visit the website. As Seetha mentioned, they are offering a blended course for a KHDA accredited level 3 blended with Montessori approach. I think it's a phenomenal, groundbreaking course that we can include into our repertoires as early years educators. If you've enjoyed our episode, we would love for you to subscribe, follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. See you next time on Let's Talk Early Years.